I'm going to put a timer here for myself because I know we all want to respect everyone's time. Let's see if I can stick to it. So I'm here today to talk about a little bit of a broader subject and thinking about resiliency as a whole. My name is, again, Kristen. I'm from the Chief Sustainability Office at the County of LA. Happy to be here. And talking about it in the context of the Countywide Sustainability Plan. And I will say that I was actually looking at BizFed's banner here. Really, it's the really quick way of summarizing it is it covers about 2/3 of the topics that BizFed spends its time on. So if you look at the red in the banners, that's a quick snapshot of the things that are in the sustainability plan, which you can read are just some examples of permitting, environment, transportation. We're thinking about sustainability really broadly, but also thinking about resiliency in those contexts. So that's sort of the super short way of talking about what's in the sustainability plan. That's kind of hard to read, so I'll speed through it here. What the plan is, it's an aspirational, long-term, and comprehensive sustainability document. It's about at the strategic plan level, so it doesn't get into the super specifics of what you as an individual business owner could do to build resiliency, but it does talk about some strategies and actions that the county will take to partner and work with the business organization on resiliency, along with the broad set of stakeholders. And it really talks about areas within the county's control. So that's thinking about county operations, unincorporated areas, but we think a little bit about, if you're looking at this bullseye figure, the yellow ring of our influence. We are also members of regional boards. Metro, for example, all 5 of our supervisors sit on the regional board. So those, of course, are big, important regional spaces where resiliency sort of crosses paths with sustainability. I addressed the topics that we're talking about, and we'll again reiterate that we think about resiliency in all of those spaces. Because we're pretty proud of the engagement process of how this plan came to be, I'll talk about it here for a second. We spent about a year going around the community to ask, what does a sustainable region, what does a sustainable neighborhood mean to you? BizFed was a great partner and active partner in that conversation, so we heard a lot about what that meant to BizFed and its members. Just to summarize some of the aspects of that, we did about 11 half-day workshops focused on topics, much like the ones pointed out here. And that we had summits with cities. I think Torrance participated, and many other 4th District cities. To talk about what are the areas where we can have regional coordination, where can cities work together, and how can the county be a resource for those aspects. We met with our tribal nations, and we had community fairs all across the county. And that generated 6,000 ideas of what should be in a sustainability plan. When you're talking to that large of a group, it came up with really great ideas. But that's not a plan. That's a very long laundry list. So we whittled that down to what is now in the final adopted sustainability plan, which is 159 actions for what the county will do to make a more sustainable and resilient county. I'll just skip the adoption piece. This is some of the news you might have heard about it. The adoption was on August 6th. This is a fairly recently adopted action by the Board of Supervisors. Now, what's in the plan, I just keep talking about the plan. We have goals, strategies, and actions. I'll just read some examples, or one example here, of what part of the plan is focused on resilience. One of our goals is resilient and healthy community environments where residents thrive in place. The strategy, which is a little bit more specific around how we would achieve that goal, is develop community capacity to respond to emergencies. And one concrete action that the county commits to doing is to train town councils, neighborhood associations, and other community organizations to become certified emergency response teams. So that's already in the works, but it's sort of identifying a space that the county could really help push further. These are just unreadable, so I'll just say that I encourage you to go to our website and to check out the 12 goals related to all of sustainability, but I've read that top one that is most relevant to today's conversation, but we talking about biodiversity, habitat, business opportunities to transition to the clean economy. Our sort of broadest and biggest one, which is a fossil fuel-free LA County. And then we talk about partnerships in our last two goals, just to give you a flavor of what are in our goals. And I'm going to give you two other examples related to resilience in a second. So I'll focus on the actions here since it's so hard to read. We talk about here building capacity of retailers, including small stores, to sustain neighborhoods in the event of an emergency and ensure continued operations during and after a disaster. So that speaks a little bit to Ali's point around it's important to us as the county that you are up and running during and after an emergency. So thinking about your investment in resilience now is an important county value. And then another action here is developing minimum requirements and best practices for amenities, programming, and accessibility of cooling centers. And that's my self-timer there. So we're also thinking about our most vulnerable populations, people who don't have places to go. And we're going to have to think really creatively because the county itself can have some cooling centers, but if there's new opportunities for working with the private sector to think about how we can take care of people in, for example, heat emergencies, not just seismic. Just one more target example. We have a goal of offering 60% of those CERT community emergency response team trainings in non-English languages. So we're thinking about our entire community needs to be prepared, not just our English-speaking residents. This is a teaser. If you go onto ourcountyla.org, that's our website, you can just click on resiliency and read every action that we have related to that. And then if you're interested in any of these other topics that BizFed does its work in, you can click on that topic and all the actions related to that will pop up. And these are our next steps. We will be developing a priorities report and taking that to the Board of Supervisors to say, what are our first year actions? What are we going to spend our money on first? And we will every August, we will be issuing annual progress reports to report to the board the type of progress that we have made on sustainability for the year. And that is our website. I encourage you to take your phone out now, type it in. You can read it later when you're back. And want to thank BizFed again for hosting these events. Thank you.